Hello and welcome to another Party and Smith production. It is day 11 of the PDC World Championships. We're going to be previewing the 6 games to take place on Monday the 28th. Just a reminder what day it is at this time of the year. So, 6 third round games to take place. Starting with a biggie, really, for me, to be honest. Jose de Souza, my outright pick. I think Pieman picked him outright as well against one of Pieman's favourites, Mervyn King. So I'll hand you straight over to the main man, Matt Pieman Hill.
Yeah, cheers, Adam. As you say, 6 games on the agenda today and another good day. It really was a hugely important day yesterday, and we'll probably cover that in another video. But on we march. 6 third round games. We're getting into the business end of affairs, and as you say, Jose de Souza and Merv King kick us off. Got to be a tough watch for me. There's 2 players that I'm very, very fond of. One of them's obviously going to fall and one of them's going to progress, but such is life at the darts. It was pretty similar with Johnny Clayton and Joe Cullen, to be honest, 2 lads that I would have liked to have seen go on a run, and they've met each other quite early, and it's just the way it goes, I'm afraid. So you're looking at it on the bare form. Jose de Souza, Grand Slam of Darts champion. I think he's around the 20-1 mark for the title. If not a little bit bigger. And I would just say that Jose's price has only moved slightly, and it's moved out. I'm not sure there's any reason that Jose de Souza is less likely to win this title than he was a couple of weeks ago. But as we say, in these markets, they're very reactive. If somebody performs well, they trim, everyone else drifts. And Jose, he could well trim if he beats Merv here, because Merv King will give him a good test. King, obviously, Players' Championship finalist. Rather out of the blue. He's been around the block, Merv. We all know about Merv King's qualities, but his days of competing with the guys at the very top of the game look to be behind him, but he's had a real renaissance, and I thought he was really impressive, actually, in round 1, the way he took Max Hopp apart without much fuss, to be honest. If he plays like that again here, Jose will have a tough test on his hands. Jose, of course, coming past Ross Smith in what was another good game. Ross Smith taking the first set there, before Jose came back. But to be honest, I was pretty impressed with Jose. A lot of people said it was not a vintage performance, but his doubling was a little bit lower than you would expect. But ultimately, when he came to the board, he was finishing his chances. It was just maybe second or third dart as opposed to first dart, but he wasn't really letting Ross Smith back in once he got to the board. So if Jose turns up here, he should have too much for Merv. Mind games could be a factor. Winding up could be a factor. You don't want to miss this action, but I'm going to say Jose 4-2.
Yeah, Jose 4-2 is 7-2 in the region of 7-2. I'm worried. I am worried. I thought that Mervyn King's performance at the Players' Championship was a standout rather than the norm for Merv King this year, and I wondered, he was excellent. He made the final, and I wondered if he could carry that on. And the answer so far has been yes. He averaged 99 against Max Hopp, and like you say, Matt just dealt with him. Simple as that, really. So I think I'm more concerned about Jose's chances than you are. He is the 4-9 favourite. Merv King 7-4. I do expect it to be a very good game. Jose, quite simply, is going to have to be better than his first round. But that was a nice introduction into the competition for the first time for him as a known player or as a favoured player, if you like. So yeah, expecting a real good contest there, and one that we've both got financial interest in.
Just before we move on that, just a final word on this. Like, as you said, Jose's first tournament with the pressure on him, bound to have been a lot of nerves in that first round match. Will Merv's players bigger factor in this game? I'm not sure, but it's still a relatively short format. So I think if Merv King is going to turn him over, start of the game, really important. Merv needs to be taking at least one of the first 2 sets, ideally both, if he's going to have a chance today.
Yeah, agree. And then in the second contest, in the afternoon session, 3 in the afternoon, 3 in the evening, the shortest price of the afternoon is Dirk Van Duijvenbode against Adam Hunt. This is in the quarter 2, which was fiendishly difficult beforehand and still remains the case. I thought Dirk was impressive against Rob Cross. He won 3-2-95 average. And I was more impressed with his interview after, if you like. He really does believe, and the belief is built on good reason as well. He's had a good finish to the year, and that looks to continue. He is the most unexposed runner in this market, if you like, or this section, if you like, with more established players to come. Adam Hunt is not one of those established players. He came past Jamie Hughes in his second round game 3-0. Jamie Hughes simply didn't turn up. Probably the worst performance of any player at the World Championship this year. Dirk's 2-7 to get the job done here against Hunt, and I think he will do. And I think he'll do it either 4-0 or 4-1. They're both around the 3-1 mark.
Yeah, I think you'll have plenty of people agreeing with you there, but I must say I'm not sure I'm one of them. I think Adam Hunt can make this a real contest. It's not that I haven't been impressed with Dirk Van Duijvenbode. I really have. He's won both of his games 3-2 against strong opposition, but I think Adam Hunt deserves a bit more credit than he's probably had here. He had a tough game in Lisa Ashton in the first round, and he kind of managed to negotiate that with minimal fuss when Lisa played pretty well, pretty much up to a near best. He then demolished way under par Jamie Hughes 3-0, but it's hard to take too much negative or positive from that performance because Jamie Hughes averaged 80, but we can only go on the bare form of Adam Hunt. He's put in 2 90-plus averages, similar to Dirk. What you would have to say is Dirk's maximum performance level is higher than Adam Hunt's on the evidence that we've seen. But this is a bit of a free hit for Adam Hunt, to be honest. And he might just revel in that. Dirk Van Duijvenbode, as I said, 3-2, 3-2. It's not like he hasn't been dropping sets. I do think he is a bit vulnerable here. I would be playing the overs markets on sets, so a little bit of a difference of opinion there. But I totally see why Dirk is expected to get the job done, and he may well do, and I wouldn't be surprised. But good luck to both of them. 2 players definitely on an upward curve.
Yep, 6 sets or more is 10-11. So that's the line for that. On to the third and final game of the afternoon session. Nathan Aspinall, in court, one of the chief runners in quarter 4, takes on Vincent van der Voort. Vincent came back, fellow Dutchman Ron Meulenkamp in the second round. Had to play well. I think he came from 2 sets down in that game to win 3-2. And Aspinall, I think, was 2 legs down in the final and deciding set against Scott Waits and won 3 on the bounce to win. Just a side note there, the amount of players that have come through final sets from 2-0 down. This lack of 2 clear legs in the final set has really put a different impact. Some might argue it's good, some might argue it's bad, but I've quite enjoyed it, to be honest. Aspinall is the 4-11 favourite. Vincent's around the 11-5 mark. Aspinall at his best or near his best beats Vincent quite easily, but as the Pine Man stated before this tournament, Aspinall is not at his best. He wasn't at his best in his second round game, and Vincent wasn't far from his best. So if those two things happen again today, it'll be a very close game.
Yeah, I totally agree with the way you've looked at that, to be honest. I mean, Vincent van der Voort is not someone that you could put up with any confidence, really, because he's liable of having bad days, Vincent. But we know that, I mean, if you're world number 27, you can compete with anybody on your day. And if he turns up here and plays like he did in the back end of his game against Ron Meulenkamp, he can ask more questions of Aspinall. Aspinall, as you say, already dodged a number of match darts from Scott Waits. Was somewhat fortunate to come through that, but did show his battling qualities. He'll be aware that this, it is an opportunity for him. A lot of people have said at the start of the tournament he should be making the quarterfinals here. He's got Vincent, and then he's going to have the winner of Daryl Gurney versus Chris Dobie. So he'll fancy it, Aspinall. As I say, a really tough test for him. Possibly another one awaiting here, but it's not a game I'd be getting carried away with, to be honest. 2 players I've got my reservations over, although they are obviously very solid on the day, both of them. But yeah, I think I would give this one a wide berth. An interesting game, though, for sure.
Yeah, possibly wide berth in terms of picking a winner, but looking at the total sets market, 6 or more sets is 4-5. That covers an Aspinall 4-2 win, for example. So yeah, that would be what I would be potentially looking at. Mm-hmm. Into the evening session, Gary Anderson. Again, this is in the quarter 2. Gary Anderson taking on Mensur Suljovic. First game, Anderson looked fit enough, as it were. We know he's had his leg injury problems. His interview afterwards, as you highlighted to me, Pine Man wouldn't feel an Anderson backer with confidence, but I don't think there is many people that have backed Anderson to win this tournament, to be quite honest with you. And Mensur, we had questions about him. We'd not seen him for a while. He averaged 98 in a 3-1 win over a plucky Matthew Edgar, to be honest. Edgar played pretty well by his standards. So Yeah, Anderson, the two-time previous world champion, is 4-6 to win this. Mensor's 6-5. Yeah, there would have been a time where Mensor's slow and strange style on the hockey might have put off Gary Anderson, but I don't think that happens anymore, to be fair. What did you make of it, Pieman?
Yeah, well, I think what you say about the style there is correct. I think Gary Anderson just a bit too used to playing these players now for it to bother him too much. But obviously, he would prefer a rhythmical game. I think Gary Anderson, he likes to get into his flow, but he's played Mensah enough times now. He knows what it's got to be like. I was impressed with Mensah Sulovic against Matthew Edgar. I thought he looked back to somewhere near his best after what has been a really rough year for him. Not sure I'd be impressed with him enough to confidently put him up here. Two players who probably exceeded expectations with their first round performances, as you say. Gary Anderson is into 25-1 to win this tournament. And there's quite a simple reason for that, to be honest. His quarter has opened up hugely with Michael Smith exiting in round 2. And you're looking at players who may emerge from that, because there's someone who's going to emerge from the semi-final who, frankly, wouldn't have been expected to. And if it was to be Gary Anderson, he's got all the experience in the world as a former champion, so it certainly wouldn't faze him as it may faze some of the other players. I couldn't be getting involved with Gary Anderson at 25-1. He's been plagued with problems this year, with lack of practice, injury, loss of form in general. He's had some outbursts, as we've mentioned. So, yeah, but purely on this match, I do expect Gary Anderson to come through. That is purely because, it's not that Mensah didn't impress me, but I just think Anderson has got that extra bit of quality in the key moments, the scoring power. I think Mensah will hang with him. I can see it going quite deep, but I think Gary's experience might get over the line. And I don't actually believe Anderson when he says he is not bothered about this tournament. I think he must know now that an opportunity has arisen, and he'll be desperate to capitalise as much as he can. Anderson in a narrow win for me.
Yeah, I was looking at Anderson minus 1.5 on the handicap. That's where the line's set, and that would cover anything from 4-0, 4-1, 4-2 Anderson. Like you say, I don't quite believe what he says in his interviews, and if he does put his foot down, he could see off Mensah, but it is a close game. Pieman is going to cover Price versus Dolan for you whilst I go and answer the door. I mean, it's very professional in the Smith household today.
Yeah, nothing like put me on the spot there, Adam, but these things happen, We're only an amateur YouTube channel. So, obviously Gerwyn Price will come into the game against Brendan Dolan as a massive favourite. I didn't think he was super impressive in his first game against Jamie Lewis. His countryman kind of pushed him all the way, to be honest. But Gerwyn Price, quite rightly installed as the second favourite for this tournament, especially after Peter Wright being dumped out. And you would have to fancy him to go past Brendan Dolan here. But Dolan, we know he's capable on his day if he could score powerfully, but there just hasn't been enough conclusive evidence for me to think that he will do it here. I want to almost take on Price because I've not been that impressed with what I've seen from him, but I'm not sure this is the game to do it, to be honest. Even if he doesn't improve on his first round performance, I think he would scrape through Price. But I expect a little bit of improvement and maybe a 4-1 win for Gerwyn Price here, I think.
Yeah, 4-1's the favourite, or near the favourite, 12-5. I mean, I'm a Price backer, but I was apprehensive before this tournament, given his pretty much no-show for me in the Grand Slam. Did improve in the Players' Championships. I wanted a big performance from him, given what Van Gerwen had already done the night before Price's second round game. And then he comes out and goes to a deciding set against Jamie Lewis, could have got beat, wins 3-2, averages 91. I mean, that wouldn't even get him in the top 10 of averages or performances that we'd seen in round 2. So, yeah, needs to improve. I think Brendan Dolan's the right opponent for him to improve against. If he was taking on Jose de Souza in round 3, rather than round 4, I would be all over de Souza, to be honest. But yeah, Price needs to show something. He is still the second favourite. We've seen what Van Gerwen's done, but I think he's averaging 107 point something over his 2 matches. Gerwyn Price needs to try and put some sort of marker down for the rest of the field, but more importantly for him. He's been home for Christmas. Hopefully he's switched on and can get the job done. But yeah, I mean, 4-0's 9-4. I mean, it won't be my kind of game to be betting on personally, but I'll be watching with interest, and I do expect and want a good performance from Gerwyn Price tonight.
Yeah, he's definitely going to have to improve, isn't he? And as you say, Van Gerwen has just been so impressive. I know it's not in these early stages about getting through rather than how you get through, but you need to be carrying in some kind of form into the later stages, because after this round, every player you face is going to be top quality, and 90 low 90 averages just won't cut it anymore. As we've seen already in this round, a couple of players averaging in the low 90s, and they've been comfortably dispatched by their opponents. So needs improvement today, even with this favourable draw. The last game. Sorry, go on, mate.
I was going to segue there. Talking of someone who needs to make improvement, and his name is Glen Durant. I mean, we was looking at this tournament and saying, I wouldn't make a assumption or comment on him or certainly back him until I'd seen him in his first game. We saw him in his first game. He only averaged 88. Now, on paper, it looks like a comfortable win, 3-0. Diogo Portela didn't really turn up. He only averaged 79 himself, the Brazilian. And yeah, the Glen Durant questions were not answered. They're going to be answered today, one way or the other, because in the opposite corner is Danny Baggish, and I know you're more than qualified to cover Mr. Baggish's chances.
Well, yeah. To be honest, I can't lie to you. I didn't think Danny Baggish would still be standing at this point, purely because I fancied his chances of giving Hector a good game, and even going into the Adrian Lewis game, I thought he had more than a fair chance, but I didn't think he'd be able to beat them both. And all credit to him, he's shown not only has he got the quality to turn up and play someone well on the day, but he can back it up in the next game. And if he can back it up here, he's got potentially a great chance. I think this is the one game, we briefly discussed it beforehand, where the market looks wrong potentially here today. There seems to have been an assumption that Glen Durant is back to his normal best. I don't know how anyone could confidently make that assumption, because his checkouts got him out of jail against Diogo Portela. He was 9 out of 14 on the doubles, Glenn. That was superb. But let's talk about his scoring. 2 180s. It was a real scrap. This was one of the poorest games of the tournament to watch visually, because it was 2 players bang out of form, really struggling for scores. Diogo barely threatened an 80 average, so he wasn't put under any kind of pressure. We know what Danny Baggish is going to do. We've seen it twice now. He's going to turn up and he's going to average about 92, 93. And he's going to ask questions of Glen Durant. And if he gets chances, he's going to take them. So I think Glen Durant needs to go up 2 or 3 levels here from that Portela performance to win this game. So I've been very surprised when I've had a look at the prices of this game. I think Danny Baggish has got a real chance of turning him over here. And I think I wouldn't overcomplicate it, to be honest. I think I'd just get with Danny Baggish.
Yeah, Danny Baggish is available at 11-5 top price, so that's just over 2-1. Look, an 8 out of 10 Glen Durant beats Danny Baggish every day of the week, right? But on what we've seen in the last 2 or 3 months from Glen Durant, he's not been 8 out of 10. He was probably a 6 out of 10 against Diogo Portela.
Maybe lower.
Probably pushing it. What we know about Danny Baggish is, yes, he took on the kind of unknown quantity, but he was underdog against Damon Hector. Then the Adrian Lewis, that's a different game, a different mindset. Adrian Lewis is a ranked player, obviously. He's a 2-time world champion, major winner, blah, blah, blah. Baggish has seen him off. It wasn't even necessarily that close, 3-1. No. We're not talking about last leg deciders and Lewis getting nervous or whatever. He's come through that 3-1. So on evidence we've seen so far, and it is only 3 games, Glen's 1 and Danny's 2 games, Danny Baggish should not be 11-5, 2-1 for this game. Like I say, as an 8 out of 10 Durant beats Baggish, and if he can do that, then he'll win. But I guarantee you one thing: if you have a few quid on Danny Baggish today, like I'm going to, he is going to give you a run for your money. It might be yet another loser in the singles matches for me, but he is definitely going to give you a run for your money.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. And to be honest, if you're looking for something to sort of double it up with, I think you could get with Gerwyn Price on the handicap. I know we haven't been impressed by him, but I think he's got a dream draw in Brendan Dolan. And I expect after Michael van Gerwen's performance, I think Gerwyn will be determined to, remind everyone that he's still here in this other half of the draw. He still wants this World Championship. And although I'm not majorly keen on his prospects beyond this stage, I think today we probably see a better Gerwyn Price performance. So I would put, the minus 2.5 up, and I would also put Danny Baggish up. And I think it's a very interesting day of action again.
Yeah, going price minus 2.5, so that covers 4-0 and 4-1. Is 8 to 11, and the double there, Pieman works out about 4.2 ish to 1. So that wraps up our look through day 11, I think, of the PDC World Championships. It's Monday, the 28th of December, and if you're having a bet, best of luck. Let us know. Cheers.
Cheers, guys.